Welcome back to Thursday. Sunny skies over downtown Vancouver. It's 8:42. What a gorgeous day it's shaping up to be. It's time to talk COVID-19 in the province. We'll get the latest numbers and look ahead to the return to school next week. A lot of questions to help fill those in. We are joined by News 1130's Liza Yuzda. Liza, welcome and good morning to you.
Good morning, Thor.
All right, first of all, give us a breakdown. We've got 104 new cases of COVID-19 here in BC. What are some of the other numbers?
Well, we're looking at nearly 3,000 people in isolation now. Isn't that bananas? And the other numbers that are increasing that are concerning is hospitalization and ICUs. We're now up to 33 people in hospital, and that's just concerning. And these are numbers, and 14 people in ICU. These are numbers we haven't seen for some time. The numbers were much higher. We had dozens and dozens of people in ICU and triple digits in hospitalizations back when things were really bad. But it really is concerning to see things growing. We saw 6 more cases in the north, and we just don't see that. And then that in one day, that's sort of a large number of growth to see in a small region of the province. So I think that some of us were hopeful when we saw a couple days ago there was 58 cases, and we thought, well, maybe we're getting it together.
Of course.
But it doesn't seem like we are, and I think the big concern is heading into this long weekend. Are people just going to try and have one last big hurrah before heading into the winter months? We can feel the air is cooler. I certainly can, and thinking, hey, we should get back out to the beach, but wondering if people are just going to throw caution to the wind one more time, and it's looking like we have less and less space to do that, especially with kids returning to school next week.
And you look at the forecast for the weekend, it's going to be hot. People are going to be out in big groups, so we'll look to the numbers next week as well. But the big topic, obviously, schools. BCTF President Terry Mooring sending a letter to the province urging that federal funding to go towards proper social distancing in school. What's the latest on this?
Well, there's a lot of negotiating going on, and there was a bit of a tizzy yesterday. She spoke to some other media, and somebody said, oh my gosh, is there a strike on the horizon? And then I spoke to her yesterday, right when that letter was being sent to Minister Rob Fleming and the province. And she said, no, not right now, anyways, that they're looking for social distancing. They're looking for that $242 million that's coming from the federal government to allow for smaller class sizes. So that would mean adding more teachers, adding more specific remote learning. That was one other thing that she's very specific that they want. Some regions are offering remote learning, other regions are not. It's not standardized across the board, and she wants that to be equitable across all regions. And of course, that will mean more teachers. So there's a number of things they're working on. And I said to her, I'm like, well, school's a week from now. How much can be done in a week? Because as a parent, we're already filled with anxiety, wondering, what is school going to look like? How is it going to work? And now I'm thinking, is school actually going to happen? And she says a lot can be done in a week. I don't know that all of the items would be ticked off in a week, but to have agreement that that's where the money is going to go. We'll hear more, hopefully, about that this morning. BCTF President Terry Mooring said that Premier John Horgan, BC's Premier, was meeting with the Prime Minister yesterday about that $242 million for schools. So waiting to hear exactly what the strings are that are attached to it. It seems it's pretty broad, that it just has to be used for schools in this time of COVID to help them adjust. But we'll obviously hear a little bit more about that. It sounded a bit like the province was using that, getting the final word from the federal government before deciding what they're going to do with the provincial government using that money. So hopefully we'll get that soon.
And a lot of people echoing the anxiety that you describe. I have a daughter going into grade 1 next week, still a lot of questions. I'm confident in how our particular school is handling things, but take your reporter hat off for a second, put the mom hat on, and how are you feeling? You've got 2 young kids going back to school.
I have to tell you, I've never been so anxious about something with my children, and I do have trust in the process. I do strongly believe that teachers and government, administrators, everybody is doing their absolute best to do the best they possibly can for our children when they head back to school. I think there are differing opinions on how safe is safe. It is very hard for all of us in BC who have been following all the rules that we're supposed to be following, that those of us that have been at the 5% of our former lives for the last 6 months to make sure that we're stemming the spread of this virus and that we're keeping our families safe. It's hard to send your children, and I'm sure for teachers, it's hard to go into a location where there are dozens of people, not just your family. And you're doing it inside. I still have heart attacks when I go into stores with my mask on, where I can keep distant. And I think there's also the idea, you know, we've had our kids very close, and as much as they can drive you bananas, God knows mine do, there's something about letting them go right now that, you know, you think, oh my God, I wish they could just go back to school so I could have my time and space and whine by myself. And then you're like, holy cow, I have to send my kids back to school. So, you know, it's tough. And I think we have to remember that it's also very tough for teachers. I honestly also believe it's very tough for government and the health authorities. They don't want our children nor teachers to get sick. So, you know, I just keep holding that in my heart. But it's a lot. It's a lot.
It's a challenge for those tiny tots and the people at the very top making the decisions and everyone else in between. We'll catch up with you in a week, and there'll be lots to talk about then once this gets all rolling. Thanks so much for your time today, Liza.
I'm just going to throw one more thing in. That one thing that we can look for today that Dr. Henry is going to add in with her daily briefing is more modeling numbers to show, you know, that we're watching that 60, 70, 80% of activity that we've been using. And so we'll get to see today where we're at and how we're looking heading into September and back to school.
And we'll be checking your tweets later because your coverage on this has been extensive. So thank you for that, and we'll talk to you soon.
Have a great day.
You too, Liza. That's News 1130's Liza Yuzda, and we'll be back.